All right, hello, I'm Stephen Sadler with Enlightenment Television, and I have a very important message, a critical message. The world is going to hell, I mean, literally. Even though the kingdom of heaven is here on earth already, and many of you are awakening, you're enlightening, we see also that there is an evil, that Satanism is on the rise, and that means literally. I mean, there's a demonic consciousness that is lowering the collective consciousness. Our world leaders, we have greed, vanity, anger, fear, lust, pulling us down collectively. You know, money's become mankind's God. And look at all the vices. I mean, you know, you watch the news, you feel the divisiveness in the world between races, between nations, between religions, you know, just, it's crazy. Why isn't there more love and joy and peace? Well, I think I know, and I've been inspired to share. So let me take a deep breath. Let's take breath together, say a little prayer. Lord, help me to be a pure vehicle for your love and light wisdom. I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers, but I have an inspiration to share with you the things I've learned after a lifetime of studying this subject. So heaven is on earth, hell is on earth. There are these lower energies bringing us down, like this worship of greed, money, and the richest people seeming to be the most vile, taking control of the masses. And yet there is a light awakening from within the collective consciousness. And if you're here listening to me, that's you. So let me help bring light or reveal the things that I've been shown or given to share with you. Like God's inspiring me to share it with you, and it could change the world if you just hear me. It's hard to hear sometimes, but it all has to do with really listening within. So let me take you to a PowerPoint presentation, and that I've been preparing. This is work I've been doing for years. For those of you that don't already know me, at 14 I was inspired by God to climb to a mountain. He spoke to me. I asked to reveal himself in my mission, my purpose, and it was to study all the religions of the world. So I began at 16 studying every religion in the world, beginning with Christianity, of course, and hundreds of denominations, reading everything I could find on the subject, and it's all distilled in my book, which became a bestseller. But not only studying the different religions of the world, but also studying the arcana, the mystery schools, traveling and studying with like Druids in Europe, where I went to university, and other places. So I have a pretty good understanding of the occult, and even Satanism. Although I didn't include Satanism in this book, I've been to events and know Satanists have been studying how, and its many different forms. And what's happening right now is the whole world is being infiltrated like a demonic possession. Honestly, people are being hypnotized through the media, and there's an evilness that is spreading throughout the world that we need to stop. So let me explain to you. So part of what I'm going to share with you is what I've learned about religions and the occult and Luciferianism, the symbolism behind it, you know, having taken initiations with Rosicrucians and other occult groups, studying it all. It's all written in my book. The other part of my life was studying banking. I went to Menlo and then Stanford, the University of Wales, on a Rotary scholarship, got an MA in international banking, started working for the US government at a think tank, did research for the CIA, ended up working for a bank, national sales manager of a bank, and then investment banking. So I've had a lot of experience at the front end of how the world's power, the people in the world that are controlling the world through money, how the banking system works. And very few people really understand that. And it all ties in together, how banking, intelligence around the world, and this creation of a new world order and a one world government that very few people know anything about. So I'm going to explain it to you from my own experience and research in this area. And I think it'll be very eye-opening. So just sit back and relax. Who's this devil? You know, this is how we typically depict him: horns, wings like a dragon, evil. You can just see it in his eyes. represents all that is bad, right? Sometimes it's represented more symbolically. And part of what I want to do in my presentation, this is probably a 3-hour documentary, but it's the most important subject you could ever study. May need to just take parts of it at a time. But take a deep breath. So this is a downward pointing pentagram. Circles within a circle, the goat's head with the horns, fire, red, and black. Sometimes the serpent, the devil's represented as a serpent, or one with a man's head or wings, tempting mankind. Yama is got the goat's head, the wings. Sometimes he or she is also represented with bosoms and a penis, bisexually. And this is Molech, who was worshipped by the Canaanites, the early people before Abraham came. They would give child sacrifices to Molech. So he represents kind of a devil of some sort. The fallen angel. So it says in the Bible, and whether you're Christian or not, or Jewish, this is fascinating. In Genesis 6, it talks about there were giants on the earth in these ancient days. And also after that, when the sons of God came down into the daughters of men, and they bare children by them, and they became the mighty men of old, sometimes known as the Titans. And they were big. He said they saw that they were giants. So angels came down and they had sexual intercourse with humans and created this race called the Nephilim. And but God was pissed about that. But they're ruling the earth. So the idea is that there's actually like a demon or an angelic energy, a negative force that is here testing mankind and feels they own mankind. This is their domain. So the people that worship Satan are really saying this is the true God of the earth. I think extremely short-sightedness. And of course, the devil or Satan or evil is represented in different cultures around the world, not just through the biblical context. In the Ramayana, Ram is representing good, and Ravana is like a demon god, a devil that comes down from the heavens in a spacecraft of Vimana, picks up Sita, Rama's wife, and absconds to Sri Lanka. But with the help of Hanuman, Rama is able to get Sita back. It's just the story, but the story is really about man overcoming negativity, evil, which is represented by Ravana. So there's a devil, a negative or antithesis to our life learning. And that's probably a really good way to study this, is to think, well, what am I learning from this negative? What does it teach me? Both sides, the light and the dark. One helps the other to exist. So here in Buddhism, there's another demon or Satan. In Egyptian theology, the Greeks had Hades, those the horns, trident. But even today, amongst our most elite, the richest family on earth that we know of, the Rothschilds, with a picture of Satan, in the background. So he's telling the world what his thoughts are. When I say Satanism is on the rise, it's being led, it's a movement. And this is Maria, she's the one putting on the spirit cooking dinners with all the celebrities and power people, and they're introducing cannibalism and the use of adrenochome, which I'll get to later. Anton Bay is the head of the Satanic Church. Of course, there's many churches of Satan. No one has a monopoly on it, kind of like any one religion. There are different factions, but he's kind of become recognized, I guess, by a lot of people, and he's using this symbol. So part of what I want to do in this presentation is help you get used to symbols, because Satanism and the occult in general work with the communication of symbols. And those that are admitted in, there's like a secret fraternity or a secret group, and they can never tell what's happening, but they share through symbols, secret handshakes or symbols. So he's showing the sign of the devil down here. Here's the pentagram, and there is a skull representing death, and the goat inside the pentagram. So there's all these different symbols in which they speak. Kind of a gaudy church with a downward cross. Again, the deity is the devil, or Lucifer, and showing the devil's horns with their hands, and the pentagram, the black and the red. And this symbol too, the double cross, sometimes 3. Satan represents indulgence instead of abstinence. So this particular group doesn't necessarily represent all the different people that consider themselves satanic. And you understand, I am not supporting this. I'm trying to bring a light to the subject so people can see what's happening, because it's spreading. It's becoming a controlling influence in our world. Satan represents vital existence instead of some pipe dream. So in other words, an afterlife in heaven. Satan represents undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-deceit. So you see, there's kind of an attitude and a state of consciousness, interesting to observe. Satan represents kindness to those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ingrates. So to me, this is just a low level of consciousness. So again, when you see people wrapped up in money, just follow the money and you'll find Satan. Follow greed, follow avarice, follow and anger, pain. Where are they hurting others? Why would you violate a child or any other person? People are behind all the wars in the world. They're just following Satan. So here's the symbol of this spreading movement around the world. I want to make sure, and this is not the third eye. You know, I teach meditation. I tell people to focus on their third eye to control the brainwave frequencies. That's not the same thing as this all-seeing eye, the eye inside a pyramid. And we're going to see different renditions of this, and it's reflected. But these are the 7 primary satanic symbols. And when you see these, just make note. It's a downward-facing pentagram, either in a circle or not, or with a goat's head inside it, with a circle inside a circle. This will come back to, again, another sign of Lucifer, the double cross, the downward facing cross, and energy coming out in all directions, the light. Most people think of Satanism as something like this, maybe, like an old-fashioned version, nature lovers. And I've been to events like this. I've studied with Druids in Europe and been in part of different witch covens, and there are nice ones and there are evil ones, you could say. There are people who are focusing on just nature and they're into astrology and herbs, and they're just not into a church per se, but they're good people that love and support each other and believe the goodness of God. They just don't see it through a religion. And then there are other groups that sacrifice animals, people, or even babies and stuff. I mean, that's what's growing, and that's why I feel I need to share this with you. I mean, millions. And so they could dance around naked. That's something about pagans in general. And pagans aren't necessarily Satanists. Witches aren't necessarily Satanists. Satanists don't necessarily fit into any religion. They just have a way of thinking, state of consciousness. And we'll get into that in a minute. Now, in the past, this symbol represents the Masons of the medieval period. They were the high-tech people. They were the ones that knew how to, a tall building, a cathedral, would have been like the highest achievement of science in that day. And it was the Masons who put them together. So the Masons were an intellectual class, and they had the freedom to travel between kingdoms. And they were kind of a level of society above the rest, and were kind of made leaders often. This became a later, maybe, depiction of what a cult might be, with the mask and the garb, the robes. This is from Eyes Wide Shut. Then the Age of Reason came, and there was a movement to create an enlightened world, the Age of Enlightenment. So people like Locke and Hume and Kant and Jefferson, Voltaire, Franklin were all writing, Thomas Paine, were all writing about how we can create a better world. And we were successful, I think, in creating a democracy and a republic. But there was a group that formed. Most of these guys were Masons. And within the Masonic movement, another type of thinking that began to develop, and it's a fascinating story. Different people were, this is a great video the gentleman was talking about how people were trying to illuminate or enlighten during the Age of Enlightenment. There were different approaches to it. But the one that most people think of when they think of the Illuminati is they're thinking of Weishaupt. So this is the Brill Society. This was Adolf Hitler's cult. It was basically satanic. But within Freemasonry, now these are good people. Many Masons have studied their craft, and they have good intentions, and they bring kind of a knowledge. They were men. It was like a fraternity of men that could meet and talk about higher thoughts, higher ideas. And so they kind of go through ceremonies or rituals that represent different teachings and try and evolve themselves to be better builders of a better world. That's a good thing, right? They've got places all over. They dress with aprons, like a Mason might have an apron for his tools. Here, their tools are their intellect, their understanding. And they go up a certain progression. And at the very top, you'll see things like the Order of the Knights Templar. Now, there actually are orders of the Knights Templar. We have royalty in Europe and around the world that actually give out certain designations to within a certain cadre, a certain elite sect of people within the royal houses of Europe and around the world. So here's that symbol of the Freemasons again. But it's also the symbol of the Illuminati, the dark side. Now, look at the G. And there's a compass, and there's a rule. You recognize this from the back of a dollar bill. Well, this is a symbol of this Illuminati. And the all-seeing eye within a pyramid. So you can see it on the back. It says, we endeavor to create a new order. And the letters M-A-S-O-N form the word Mason, and it forms a downward pointing pentagram, which is the sign of Satan. So recognize this sign. This is both a Masonic sign and a Satanic sign. And it doesn't mean all Freemasons are Satanic, probably very few, but a growing group are, and the symbology needs to be understood. Satanic, Masonic. Satanic again. Now what do you see? You see up and a down, like a compass, and then you see a rule going down, and you see a pentagram. And what is the thinking of the Satanists? Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. I can do what I want. I don't have to listen. So again, the compass and the rule, the two X's, sometimes also shown with columns on the side, and the pentagram in the middle. And you see this, Masonic lodges, downward pentagrams, the double cross again. In their own book, they swear not to tell the secrets that they have learned. But I have not taken that oath, by the way, so I'm not breaking any oaths. But in the books have been published, binding myself under no less penalty than to have my throat cut across and my tongue torn out and other hideous things, they promise not to tell the secrets of their order. And that's an important part. And that's why most people don't know. It's all done in secret. And I question that. I question secrets. Now, here's an example of a greeting. If you're in this fraternity around the world, and if you do that, you're telling other people in the room that you're a part of that order, like Poe here. In the Scottish Rite of Masonry, and there's two major branches, this is another sign. You'll see this is a more modern version of Masons, but you'll also see it in pop culture. They're telling you something when they make that sign. It's not done, it's done deliberately, I should say. So in Morals and Dogma, Albert Pike, another reference we're going to go to. Here's a Masonic handshake we see. Now, are they just doing that kind of handshake? Perhaps. But more often than not, it's done on purpose. It's done to show people. See, they're doing it so you can see it. They're telling the world, and that's part of it. We know we're on the inside, and the rest of you are dumb sheep that don't know anything. You're asleep. Morals and Dogma by the Freemasons. This is Albert Pike. And he even says to mislead those that deserve to be misled, to conceal the truth, which it calls light from them, and to draw them away from it. Truth is not for those who are unworthy. So there's this sense of secretness, and that a certain group know and don't. And in their own book, Pike says Lucifer, not Jesus or God Yahweh or some, but Lucifer, light bearer, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning, it is he who bears the light. So they're saying Lucifer bears the light, and with its splendors intolerably blinds feeble, sensual, selfish souls. So we can bound to him. Manly P. Hall was a famous occultist and Mason. He has a very kind of satanic view of the craft. He too says in his book that the master Mason, as you go into this initiation, the seething, surging energies of Lucifer are in his hands, and before he may step onward and upward, he must prove his ability to properly apply that energy, to be guided by Satan. It's right here. Way back when, the Illuminati, Adam Weishaupt, starting, you'll see the owl in the circle. He started a group called the Illuminati that entered into the schools of Freemasonry, as well as Jesuit schools, other religions. He's from Ingolstadt, Bavaria. And he was, a lot of people think he was Jewish. He was not. He was a Jesuit. He actually became the dean of the Jesuit campus, and used that as an opportunity to bring his own ideals to bear. And his ideals were this, very much like communism. The Illuminati seek to establish a new world order where basically a small group of intellectuals control the world in a benevolent dictatorship. And their objectives are to destroy all governments and private ownership, religions, the family, so on and so forth. So today we'd probably call that communism, him and the Jacobites. The great strength of our order lies in its concealment, he says. Never let it appear on its own name, but it always covered by another name and another occupation. So this group of intellectuals from Europe wanted to take control over the world, but they didn't want the world to know what they were doing. But they created them within the Masons. Now, not all the Masons were a part of the Illuminati, remember. But our own Constitution was drawn from the Freemasons' Constitution. You may not know that. Both Franklin and Jefferson were Masons, and they were the proponents back here in 1723, talking about a Constitution. Now, George Washington got a hold of this. He was a Mason, and he seemed, by all accounts, a pretty good person. He had his human frailties. But this is what he says. He's a Mason, and he's seeing the influence of Adam Weishaupt specifically and the Illuminati. He says, it is not my intention to doubt that the doctrine of the Illuminati and the principles of the Jacobites had not spread in the United States. It was on the contrary. No one's more satisfied of this than I. So he was very concerned. He shows in his letter, it's well documented in history, that he didn't want this sect that wanted to create a new world order, a one world government, to infect the United States. And it did, just like the central bank did, the same way. They were part of the same group, matter of fact. You go to Washington, you see their mark. You can see these were laid by Masons. People in the Masonic order created a pentagram through these landmarks where they put their stones, and one's here at the White House, and then it attaches to the Jefferson Memorial, as you see, and up to the Capitol, creating another triangle. And look what's across the street. It's a pentagon. It's where the generals, the people that wage war, nothing more evil than war and killing people. But they're showing us the sign of the devil where the generals do their planning. And from the Capitol that's overseeing the government, they're seeing it as a downward facing pentacle or pentagram, the sign of Lucifer. So I just want to make sure you see that. So many presidents were part of the Masons, including the Roosevelts, Gerald Ford, almost a third, and others went through fraternities and other kind of orders. But here's what's really shocking if you haven't seen this before, the effect it has on and how we see it in our culture. Now, this is the Masonic royal apron that they wear. It shows you're a Mason. Doesn't it look like the Gmail sign in Google? This is the Masonic tribal cane, another Masonic symbol, initiation. Here's Facebook, F in a blue circle. Is it just a coincidence? Apple and Android, both. Here's a compass and a rule. Here's a compass. Just like the Freemason sign, and inside there's a triangle, right? Here we have Google Chrome. It's the sign of 666. There's 3 sixes coming together. There's also a circle and a 9 in the middle. 666 is the sign of Satan, if you didn't know. Google Play, the seal of Satan. To a Satanist, that's obvious what that means. To you, it may not seem like anything. So if I'm saying this, you're probably starting off going, that's a conspiracy theory. And if you thought that that term was actually devised by the intelligence community to keep people from questioning, so you've already been trained, your brain has been programmed to react to things that don't fit your paradigm through cognitive dissonance. So you just say conspiracy theory, and then you stop thinking. If you were to show other data that contrasted with or put another perspective on that statement or that, say, that design, then we'd have a discussion. But see, people close down, they stop thinking as soon as they say conspiracy theory. It's like their brain is under some mind control. So if you ever say conspiracy theory, just watch your mind do that. Google, okay, it's the all-seeing eye. It's kind of obvious, right? And the 9th circle I was talking about, well, this is Satan's magazine. And who's that? It's Satan eating a human. It's cannibalism, kind of gross. And if it didn't come up through a Masonic or Templars or some kind of other fraternal order, and there's dozens of them, it could have been through like a fraternity in a college, like Skull and Crossbones, very famously. Manly B. Hall. So there's a lot of books out there that talk about this very thing. This is Aleister Crowley, a known Satanist. So he's reiterating the essence of the teaching. Do what you will. That's the law. So in other words, there's no laws. The Satanic Bible. Look at these symbols over and over again. The hand signal. This particular hand signal, this one. Many of you, so here's one of the leaders of the Satanic movement sharing with us. Many of you already read my writings indicating that the TV is the new God. So the Satanists see the TV as, the new God, the way that they can reach people. There's a little thing I neglected to mention until now. Television is the major mainstream infiltration for the new Satanic order. So they're using television and the media at large to infiltrate and to grow Satanism. And I'm going to show you that's the next step we're going. First, you need to recognize the symbols. It's everywhere. And you may not have known that that meant Illuminati, New World Order, Rise of Satanism. Even sweet little Selena Gomez. This is the 666. Here she is with the Mickey hat on in black. And the 666. Well, that just means okay, right? And what's this thing with the eye? What does that really mean? Well, it means 666. If you're within the Satanic cult, you know that. Same thing, and the mouth is shut. Can't tell you, it's our secret. What does Rita have to say? She's revealing the world's secret religion. And whenever you see them covering one eye, it's referring to that all-seeing eye that they can't talk about. Malkovich, Kevin Spacey, even your friend Oprah Winfrey. Is that possible, really? Tom Hanks, I'm not allowed to talk. Look, his eye's been hit. Oprah's right there, hang in there, Tom. Look at this. Every time you see that symbol, that's a symbol of that Illuminati. And they're already under mind control. If they're at that state, but they're probably on adrenochrome. They're drug addicts that are addicted to adrenochrome. They'll do anything for it. Spielberg, Stephen King. I imagine you know these guys. Even everybody loves them, but I mean, the stories you won't believe. Colbert, they're all in. See, there's an inner circle. You're either in it or you're not. So the ones that are in it glorify it. and they even make fun of us and show it to each other. The ignorant masses don't know. Shh, don't tell anyone. But Brad Pitt's a little more open about it. He says, I could really try on something different for myself. That was Satanism. He says it outright. And he said it more than once. He's not denying it. It's working out really well. I made a pact. And what he's basically saying is, once I made a pact to Satan, I became an overnight sensation, you know, and a multimillionaire, and I can do what I want. And he's got the adrenochrome. He's making the sign of the devil right there. And his wife or ex-wife, she was in a video I took a screenshot of. You see, most of the stuff is going to be taken off the internet. So I take screenshots, so I document it. It says, it's like these tattoos. After the ritual, she says, oh, I have tattoos. Like she didn't even know, she was so out of it. But you have to go through these rituals. What rituals? Look what's on her. Do you know what it says? Illuminati, the pyramid, the all-seeing eye, the one world government, the satanic order. Look at her writing. That's satanic writing. Putting horns on somebody, wearing horns. Who is Maleficent? Isn't she a demon, a devil, someone that works for the devil, or a devil herself? And it's by Disney. Oh, it couldn't be Disney. Disney. Look at that. All-seeing eye, devil horns, eye. She's making the sign. Can it be true? You might look at that just one time and say, well, people can drop their middle fingers. It doesn't mean they're making the sign of the devil. But then you see that there is a serpent dragon with a crown. There's a point he's making. He's talking to his fellow Satanists. Kristen Bell was a little more direct. He just said, thank you, Satan. He betrayed Dick Cheney, who's a Satanist. Sometimes, you see, what they're trying to do is normalize Satanism, so it's not so scary to other people. Like ignorant sheep, they go along with it. So you watch The Devil Wears Prada. It was a cute movie, but it was normalizing Satanism. So did The Devil and Max Devlin. But as we know now, Bill Crosby wasn't the angel we thought he was he? Which is the East book. It was funny, but it had to do with demonism, Satanism. Bedazzled 2. I love watching the Game of Thrones, but is that the devil or not? We're getting so used to seeing it. She was our hero, but she killed so many people. She was evil, really. So was she, burning people alive. Remember the Red Witch? Melisandre, did you watch Game of Thrones? They did it really well, but it had all the Satan worship all through it. How about even our favorite Star Wars? The Sith, isn't that the devil? Isn't the evil emperor? Isn't that the darkness? But to them, it seems like the light. See, they got so confused. They thought dark was light, and that's what Satan does. He's the deceiver. Walt Disney, our favorite, that can't possibly be. Also, is the world's largest media company now. Walt Disney, you wouldn't believe who Walt Disney is. Anyway, so we see the 666 in his name, and might just seem like it's a coincidence until you see the 3 6s together in their branding for Disney. For those of you who don't know, what 666 has a significance biblically, and it refers to the Antichrist or the devil. The person that has insight can calculate the number of the beast. The beast is the Antichrist. For its number is that of a man, and that number is 666. So it looks like Disney is saying he's the Antichrist, and he's a Mason. Look at that. He's using the sign. He's a 33 degree. They have that club at Disneyland. You look at sweet little Mickey Mouse. Oh, that's a cute little mug. Look at the reflection in the mug. Wicked. You see it? Do you see it? You think that's an accident? No, that's how they work. They show it to you, but you don't know what it is until you're in the club, until you're one of them, until you're under that mind control too. So you see that symbol in their characters, the sign of the devil. Here's a little devil. Looks cute, doesn't he? Using the sign of the devil. Our favorite characters, Snow White using the sign of the devil. You think that's a coincidence? Cinderella using the sign of the devil. You think that's a coincidence? You think they put it that way? Any other way than on purpose? All these characters. So there's something called Monarch. It's basically MK Ultra, kind of mind control. You go under, part of the satanic ritual and worship is to put you under a mind control. The drugs and the sexual activity that they encounter put them in a state where they're easily molded and controlled, like being hypnotized. And so this has gone on. Cecil B. DeMille, way back in Black and White, this kind of infiltration, or this way of informing the collective consciousness of their intention. The Devil's Advocate, it was a good movie. And here the devil explains to his son why he exists. And it's kind of like in the book of Job, where he's saying, look, I'm just tempting man because you're here to learn, grow, and evolve. And you're getting caught in the greed. You're getting caught in the vice. You're getting caught in your lust. You're getting caught, and so you do deviant things. You're getting caught in the money. You're getting caught in the anger, the fear. Who's not caught in fear of COVID? You see, it's all the way that the devil gets you, where it's a lower consciousness, where we're here to evolve our consciousness, aren't we? So by you understanding this, it will free you from the confines of this programming. Harry Potter, enjoyed the book. Didn't see all the movies, but I saw the first one. But look at the symbols they use. The triangle, the eye, the all-seeing eye. This is also taught, and it's a university of witchcraft. The devil's everywhere. Just keep looking. True Blood. It's kind of a comedy of a movie, and they eat people and they drink blood. There are bars where they go to get a glass of blood of human beings. So they're making it like a normal thing. Do you see that? And some of the characters claim that they actually like to drink blood, and a lot of people do. It's one of the fastest growing things happening in the world, and you don't know it. Or maybe you do. At least now you do. If you didn't before. Emma Stone, Cruella, isn't she a demon? Isn't the Joker? Sammy Davis, with the head of the Satanic Church, he was openly a Satanist. He didn't deny it. Dracula, isn't that the devil drinking blood? See, so these things are actually occurring where humans are eating flesh, even baby flesh and blood. And you see I want you to see the dragon, the red, the horns, the pointy fingers, the blood. This is what they want, to drink that blood. Also in it is pituitary gland, secretes the human growth hormone. And the human growth hormone helps regenerate your body. So if you drink this blood or have this enforced adrenochrome, it actually helps you turn back your age. That's why so many of these people that use it look so young. So here's a movie about Satan. Here's The Exorcist, obviously someone possessed by the devil. Omen, the same thing, the number 666. So there's a constant flow of this information, this idea, and this excitement. Angels and demons. Here HBO made the new Pope basically satanic. They're evil people. Just good fun show on Amazon Original between a good angel and a bad angel, and how us humans are so stupid. Angel Heart, Constantine, see the upside down cross. Satan everywhere, sympathy for the devil. Love to watch Mick Jagger singing Sympathy for the Devil, and he made some good points, kind of how evil comes into human beings, as the rich, as the generals, and so forth. But it's also normalizing Satan. Darkness, Call to Darkness by Hellboy, who's a sympathetic character. You can't help but like him, but he's the devil. You see the devil inside us. It's a nun. The craft makes it all normal to study this stuff. One of our favorite movies was Silence of the Lamb. Hannibal was a cannibal. He ate people, and he justified it. It made sense to him. Oh, the new show just came out on Netflix. Cole says, stays past his bedtime. He discovers that his hot babysitter is part of a satanic cult. Doesn't stop at nothing to keep him quiet. A satanic cult, that's being normalized in our culture. Very sexual, probably eating meat hair. And we're just kind of laughing it off. Hugh Grant, the devil in Hugh Grant. He's got the apple before his crotch. This is all a way of communicating. There's a whole channel to Satanism. Movies on it, shows on it. The Pope's represented as satanic. Lucifer is a popular show. He's another sympathetic character, but it's evil. Did you see Eyes Wide Shut with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. What's it about? It's about a satanic cult. So here she is, this girl that is very sweet, but she gets drawn into a devil-worshipping cult of elitists to rise up to the highest echelons in the world, which apparently is what happened to her. As it says in the news, just for a few years, it has been known that Eyes Wide Shut actress Nicole Kidman's father, Dr. Anthony Kidman, was accused of participating in an elite, violent pedophile ring in Sydney, Australia, for his death, and it was believed because he was a part of that ring. So she may have grown up, as many of the actresses do, in these pedophile rings. And her movie was all about that. And Kubrick died at the end of it. He wasn't supposed to reveal what really happens. This is what they're saying, what really happens, the types of things they go through themselves. They did it on film. So watch Eyes Wide Shut. So here's Tom Cruise at a devil-worshipping, I don't know if it was pedophilia, but it was definitely a sexual and I believe drug-induced. Here he is making the sign of the devil. So you got to be in the clique to get as high, to get as famous, to get in this group. You've got to kind of like, it's kind of like hazing when you go through a fraternity. But worse, The Conjuring, the devil made him do it. You're Madonna giving the sign of the devil, wearing the coat of the Illuminati, the all-seeing eye. We've got to build a new order. Look at her dancing with devils. She's a adrenocome drinking Satanist. Look at this, one eye. And what is this? This is before we heard about Corona. Do you realize that? This is a way that we began to normalize or accept things. We've already seen this in our subconscious because it was shown to us. And she's like, hey, she's cool. I'm just hanging out with Madonna, but we're wearing masks. That's like normal. That's cool. And you don't realize this is how they induct your subconscious. I've studied NLP and hypnotism, and I'm a master of meditation in many different styles. I've been teaching for 30 years. I know how the mind works. And I'm telling you, they're trying to control your brain through this. Rosemary's Baby with Mia Farrow. What happened there? Well, she's a nice lady that gets kind of sucked into a satanic cult. She ends up having the baby of the devil. Lucifer's baby. Look at it. Looks like a lizard with the eyes of Satan or a serpent or a reptilian, right? She's scared to death of it. It's evil. And Roman Polanski, that made the movie, was actually pregnant with Tate, who didn't want to give up the baby. She was going to have a baby. She didn't want to give it to Satan. So she disobeyed, and Manson came or sent his people to kill her. There's a ritual satanic killing of her and the baby because she didn't comply with Satan. Do you understand that? Isn't that heavy? Take a deep breath. Let's clear that out. And here Mia Farrow's wearing this outfit. It's very symbolic. It became an icon of Satanism too, if you didn't know. Satanists will wear this. The women will wear this outfit. Look at her panda eyes. She was the mother of the spawn of Satan. And look at, here's Kate Middleton, who just had a boy who will be the heir, who will have the throne of England. She's wearing the same thing. How would her publicist, how would her people not know? She would have to know, or maybe she did it on purpose. So here's David Bowie telling the world, rock has always been the music, the devil's music. Well, here's all the signs that he was bisexual, wasn't he? Here's the sign of Satan right on his face, the lightning bolt. Here she is making the sign of Satan, all of them, even Michael Jackson. Just listen to his music, anything for money. I'd lie for you, I would die for you. I would even sell my soul to the devil. He's saying it out loud. For money. Did he have money? Look at the guy. Wasn't he kind of a freak? Okay, now look at the Masonic Temple. And what do they house? MTV. What's MTV about? Oh, look at this, the all-seeing eye. The lightning bolt of the devil. What did Morrison say? I met the spirit of music and appearance of the devil. So if you watch his movie, which is pretty good, Val Morrison plays him. He goes through some of this demonic accounting. He saw Satan moving beside him. You see it in AC/DC, obviously, the lightning bolt, the horns, the pentagram. It's throughout rock and roll. Here's the Australian Video Awards for MTV again. All Seeing Eye. Black Sabbath is pretty obvious, I hope. 666, pentagram. Here's Ozzy Osbourne just showing the one eye, the All Seeing Eye. He's a Satanist. He's probably on the adrenochrome too. Rolling Stones, who we all love. I've enjoyed their music for years. Their Satanic Majesty's Request. Really? But look at their, if you think about it, look at the goat's head soup. Here's the sign of the devil again. Both pages, every page. Even the Beatles, we all love the Beatles. What are they doing with dead babies? You know, cut up, looks like they're hacked up. These are obviously dolls, but they're representing real babies, and there's real meat. Their coats are all cut. What is that about? Isn't that cannibalistic or satanic? Here they're all holding a cross upside down. You don't want to believe they're Satanists, but they're telling the world right here. Here's George and John giving the sign, 666, and the horns of the devil. How do you think they got so famous? Why do you think they were put on every album? Why do you think their music was, everything was pushed on purpose? Alice Cooper too. Here's the serpent. Here's blood. Here's the panda eyes. Here's a demonic looking person. Clearly a screwed up person. Might be enjoyable to listen to. Beyonce too. Here's the All Seeing Eye. Halle Berry, Tupac, selling my soul for material wishes, fast cars, and a word that means women. Here's Elon Musk, who everyone begins to like, and his wife, Grimes. She's an interesting person. She has something to say to you. Look at her publicity picture. Satan is real. Satan is real. And you think Elon Musk and her maybe have something in common? Check this out. How could that be any more obvious? Perry, hey, and now she's eating people. Cannibalism's okay when you're in the elite. Rachel Maddow's giving us the sign of the devil. Look what Celine Dion has done. Take a deep breath. She's not only showing you the sign of the all-seeing eye and the Illuminati, and she's got a new clothing line. You know her from singing, right? Eyes on Me. Look at this. What the hell is this? What in hell is this? Wonder why the world is going to hell and our kids are so screwed up. Look at what they get. They get a downward-facing pentagram, eye, mouth open to eat. There's human. That's a heart, right? My heart will go on. What does that mean? What is she doing here with these demonic symbols and images, all in dark? You should look. You can. I think on YouTube you can still see her video clips. Look what they think you should put on kids: skulls, demonic symbols, pentagrams, and something that says the New Order. Oh, what about the New Order? Here's some skulls again. Upside down cross. Here's the sign of the devil. Hey, I'll put your kid in a devil cap. Celine Dion, and this is being promoted on the television. Even at halftime, we've got Beyonce, Coldplay doing these symbols of Satan, crazy dancing. Images are everywhere. The most recent Super Bowl I was watching, and because I recognized subliminal advertising, I was stopping the images in the video stream to get screen images, and look what I found. Subliminal messages about taking away nothing, feeling, not just tuning out. So what they're doing is they're speaking to your subconscious to tune out. They're hypnotizing you. This is how it works. They're hypnotizing you, and they got a certain beat going. So there's going to be a certain rhythm putting into a certain brainwave frequency where they can instill you with a certain way of thinking. They're putting you under mind control at the Super Bowl halftime, guys. Look, touch, your mind, and these lights come up and project these things so quick, your conscious mind doesn't follow what's going on. You're just kind of rocking to the music in your own rhythmic hypnotic trance, and these images are being put into your subconscious without you knowing it. And then what? Of course, you got the all-seeing eye. It's an Illuminati event worshiping Satan. Look at this. Here's the panda eyes. Here's the red and black. To anyone that's a Satanist, they know clearly it's a Satanist. At the Super Bowl halftime, look at this. And people aren't talking about it. And if you Question this guy's going, hail, hail, and then all of a sudden this flashes on the screen. Look at this. Now, there's typically maybe 4 slides per second. So this is going to like flash real quick. Satan, like you're seeing here at halftime, hail, hail, then flash Satan, but only one of the 4 slides, so maybe 1/4 of 1 second. So your conscious mind doesn't follow along because they're going to change it in a minute anyway. But your subconscious just keeps hearing, hail, hail, Satan. Do you know that? The most watched event in America, and they're programming you to worship Satan? Look at this for yourself. Do your own research. Here's Lady Gaga worshiping the head of the order itself, all in black. Elizabeth. Lady Gaga, oh, more on her. Look at this. This is what they put. This isn't a meme that somebody created. This is an advertisement on the internet and in print. One world together at home. What's that about? From Global Citizen, which is what? That's one of Gates' organizations. And the other one, World Health Organization, that he's the biggest contributor to. And he does the funding for. And what is she doing? She's got a downward-facing cross, which is Satan, pointed black nails, holding one eye for Illuminati, and she's in a nun's habit, but she's letting her nipples show. There's no clothes underneath. That's clearly satanic. She's telling the world they're satanic, and we're working together to create this new world where Satan rules. Hallelujah. Here she is with little boys drinking blood out of a bottle, and blood's on her neck and in her mouth. This is like a vampire. This is evil. This is what's drawing down the consciousness of mankind, bringing us into an evil world. And now look at this. She's who they pick. Probably the world's leading Satanist has been picked to sing at the inauguration of the President of the United States. Whew, take a deep breath. So let's go back to the United States for a minute. Let's go into politics. George Washington seemed to be a good man. He had flaws. I know he kept a slave longer than he probably should have, but he, I think, was trying to create a better world. And he did. I'm grateful that we were able to create a democracy and a republic, and it changed the tyranny that was happening in Europe and around the world. It became the lead for other democracies, the French and Polish and others around the world, to become democracies, to have some representation. People were never treated fairly. Things like Satanism and drug bloodletting and abuse of women and children has gone on as long as history's been recorded. So at least these men, I believe, probably in the beginning, or for the most part, had good intentions. And this is going all the way to Harry Truman, and they were Masons. But they got this symbol. Remember these symbols, the all-seeing eye, the triangle, and the compass, and the rule. And see these 2 X's? Harry Truman, who dropped the atom bomb. Interesting. Although I hold the highest civil office in the world, which means as President of the United States, I've always regarded my rank and title as past Grand Master of the Masons as the greatest offer ever that had come to me. So he looks at that as a bigger deal than being President of the United States at the time that we were the superpower. Now look at these guys. Now people will tell me, I say, don't those look like Masonic gowns? And people that have 32 degrees in Masonry said, those aren't any gowns I've ever seen. Of course not. You're not at that level. This is a level beyond the 33 degrees. And look, I want you to see this. There's a compass and there is a rule. There is the symbol of a triangle. And we'll get some closer shots here. Here he is with Putin, and he was with the leader of China before. They're all Masons. Look at any one of them. Here is the compass. Here's a rule. And here's a triangle. Is that not a triangle? Up at the top, a pyramid. All-seeing eye, the one world government, and they're Satanists. Look at this. Barack Obama's given the sign. He's wearing the Masonic ring. I blew that up, and look what I found. Putin does it. Fauci does it. Former prime ministers. I mean, I can show you thousands of slides. I want to make this quick. So the sign of the devil. Look, Pelosi. You think that doesn't mean shaka bro. Shaka bro is when you do this. You didn't know. It's 3 fingers together and your thumb is extended, not your index finger. And it's like, hey, brother, what's up? This means I worship Satan. I've been studying this my whole life, and it's never really ever meant anything but that. But a lot of other people are starting to do it because they see people do it, and they mimic it. Here he is, but he's doing it on purpose. He knows what it means. He knows what it means. He knows what it means. Look at him dressed. He's dressed as Satan at a gala event, even as president. Clinton's doing it. Here's our former vice president and of the Republican Party. Here's Hillary again. Here's her daughter wearing the cross upside down, which is another sign of Satan. Palin, candidate vice president of the U.S. on the Republican ticket. There's George Bush. Now, look closely. They're both doing it. Her and his wife in front of his dad. We're all part of it. They have been. They're all part of the CIA. Here he is doing it at public gatherings, letting everybody know. Here he is with the Queen. Again, look at his wife. And you can come back and look at these more later. I got to skip by this, or this will be longer than I intended. So here he is, making it very clear. Hey, for a better America. Here's Cheney doing it. He's vice president, letting people know, hail Satan. You don't do that normally, do you? So here's some of the groups associated with this new order, this elite, from the Bohemian Club and the Skull and Crossbones, Bilderberg, the United Nations, Masons, the Crown. You just Club of Rome. You just go over. These are where the rich kind of. There might be a think tank or a government agency or organization that works with these higher elites. The Bilderberg's one of the most famous. It's kind of like a board of directors meeting for the world. There's a world government. So the people in the elite refer to it as the company. The earth is the company, and all the people. We're just a part of their company. So they've incorporated the world, and they own it. And the Bilderberg is like a board of directors meeting, and it's only between 100 and 150 people that are invited, and this is their symbol. So what do you think they're about? And for many years, people said that's a conspiracy theory, and then they put up a website. People have gone there. They finally admitted they have it, but they won't tell you what they talk about, and the press aren't allowed to attend. So it started in, I think, 47 after World War II, when they were creating the one world government. And they said, let's all get together and kind of work things out, how it's going to work. So they got some of the world's leaders. So here's Queen Beatrix, she and her husband, the head of the House of Orange in the Netherlands, working with Saxe, Goth, and Windsor in England. And over here is the French heir, AX group. They're part of Rothschilds, and he's a baron, I believe. So these people, here's the former NSA director, Henry Kissinger, Microsoft, NATO, IMF, Goldman Sachs, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, John Soros, Chief of Intelligence at MI6, Petraeus, head of the CIA. So these are the people that are kind of ruling the world. Google, Royal Dutch Shell. So they kind of, those are the types of people, and usually the royalty will hold the steering committee, and then there'll be certain people assigned for certain areas that they have an interest in. And so they will coordinate different speakers, and then they get together and they talk about what they think they should do about Russia or China or about technology or rolling out the new world order, because they're the ones rolling out the new world order. They think that they're the ones that should control the world, because they basically are right now anyway. And here they're telling you, we're Illuminati. We're going to create a one world government. We're going to get rid of the United States of America. It can be a province within our world government. So their meetings are held in different places around the world. In 2018, I think it was, they had it in Turin, Italy, which is a center for Satanism, second only to London and all of Europe, if you didn't know, and where a lot of children, anyway, the trafficking we'll get to in a minute, but I thought I'm going to go visit them. I go around the world lecturing and doing retreats. I was teaching meditation. I thought, well, let's go visit the Bilderberg. So I actually drove over there. This is a picture I took. They wouldn't let me inside, but just to show you that they do exist. I talked to people that said, yeah, they're in there, but unless you have a pass, you can't come in. They were nice enough. I didn't bother them. I didn't make a big deal about it, but I was able to talk to enough people to get a sense of what was happening. Verizon, look, they're having a conference to who? Molech. Who's Molech? He's the god that takes sacrifices of children. Do you realize they would cook children and eat them? Drinking of blood has been something that royalty have done for as long as history's been recorded, really. Here, I believe it's called Mirror, the Mirror Project, is they've kind of looked at who controls each of these companies and how they're all linked together through these organizations such as Bilderberg, and how there's a Masonic and Satanic order under it all. So if you're new to this, someone else created this, but it's brilliant, really, because there are three big areas created by the Rothschild and the Rockefellers and others in this kind of elite area. The Bilderberg meetings that we were just talking about, the Council on Foreign Relations, which is based in New York, and they actually have very good information. If you want to learn, I had Foreign Affairs as a magazine they used to print and send out, but they have kind of like the world's leaders in all kinds of political views and economic views, and they speak there. And sometimes there are public events and sometimes there's private events. We'll talk about the Council on Foreign Relations, but they mold and lead policy regarding the world and how it should be run. So other world leaders can listen to them and they'll give their advice, is how it works. And they have people in all the media, all over the world. Look, Google and the New Yorker, Disney, ABC, CBS, CNN, Washington Post, The Times, NBC, Wall Street Journal, Fox, Financial Times, and it just everything. They've got their people running each one of these conglomerates. So that's why you don't know what's going on. They do. It's the most effective propaganda and mind control ever devised. It's been planned and thought out by the world's elite to how to present information to people so they'll just go along with whatever you tell them. Now people are just following it like sheep. TV has become a way to program people, control them. Then there's the Council on Foreign Relations, notable members. So what do? They create policy, make decisions, how to work together. So who's in it? Soros, Kissinger, these are names you should all know. Rockefeller, Clinton, note that they're Republican and Democrat. Dick Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, it's the big news, Zabriskie, who I knew, and I'll talk about more later, Dianne Feinstein, the Council on Foreign Relations, leading policy decisions, and the Trilateral Commission. So here's Epstein. Interesting. He's with Harvard, he's with the Council on Foreign Relations, and he's with the Trilateral Commission, the third power broker. And what does their symbol comprise? 3 6s. We'll come back to that. Barry Goldwater, who was a contender, a senator, a contender for president during one race, and he commented on the Trilateral Commission. You can come back to this if you want to read every word of it, but he's basically saying they're getting together to try to plant governments and create a one world government. And I got to meet with him and talk about that. And it's because I knew this man. This is Robert Groh. When I was at college, I was going to Menlo and then Stanford. He was a graduate of Stanford. And he was an incredible man that had just retired. This is an earlier picture of him in his office. And then he decided he was going to travel, but he was still doing some consulting. And that's where a couple interesting stories come. Some people think I'm kind of crazy. This is where I started to get an eye-opening. Mr. Groh, this is from his obituary. Mr. Groh knew and interviewed 11 presidents, So imagine how connected this guy was. He also knew most heads of state in other big countries. He also expanded his interest to Charles Lindbergh. So anybody, I knew Mr. Groh, anybody that was somebody, he went to know. So he was fascinated to talk to because he knew a lot of people. He said he twice rode in military aircraft to blockade, after the blockade of Berlin during the airlift. So he knew Kennedy, he knew Eisenhower. Matter of fact, Eisenhower gave him a commendation and for his work with the American Council and with NATO. So he helped with the formation of NATO. He was an ambassador. He said he was one of the first men. He was the vice president of PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, which was owned by the Rothschilds. He knew the Rothschilds. He knew the Rockefellers. He knew the Bilderbergs. He knew about it all. He knew he was a central part of Central Intelligence. He knew all these families. He knew the Bushes. One of the members of the Bush family went to Menlo, and I actually ran against him for student body president. He won. They know how to campaign, and he was a better student body president than I would have been. But the Bush family was very well known, and they're all a part of intelligence. Prescott Bush was, along with Rockefeller and Hoyden-Keller, and then the Dulles brothers, who were managing the money of the royal family. So you see, intelligence and banking are all intertwined. So when he went, I'll tell you an interesting story real quick. Mr. Groh had this beautiful picture up on his wall. You know, we go back here, the picture would have been, you know, up here somewhere. And he's standing up front, and I look, there's Nita Khrushchev. And there's a big hammer and a sickle and all these people, a giant hall. I said, Mr. Groh, that looks like Nita Khrushchev. And he says, it is. And it looks like you're speaking. He says, I was. And it looks like that was in Russia. He goes, it was. I said, you were speaking? He goes, yeah, I was speaking to the Politburo. I said, why were you speaking? He said, my government sent me there, and I was giving a talk to the whole, so that's their Congress. During the time of the Cold War, Mr. Groh was chosen by our government, by the president specifically, to try and convince the communists to join forces. So he knew Nita Khrushchev. He'd gone to visit him many times. They went on walks together. And they all knew that there's a one world order. All the communists get their money from the same people the capitalists do. Who controls the world? Who controls the money controls the world. So I first learned this from Allard Lowenstein. I'd been selling diamonds in the early 70s while I was in college in gold. And I had a client that was a congressman, an ambassador to the United Nations under the Jimmy Carter administration. His name was Allard Lowenstein. And we ended up becoming friends. I was selling him diamonds and gold. And his job was, he had been with the CIA and the NSA. Carter sent him out to all the countries that had a bad rap. They weren't nice. We have certain standards. We need you to, certain morals and integrity that you need to have if we're going to give any money. So he traveled, and he really knew what was going on. He knew the Kennedys well. And he's the first one to tell me that the CIA killed the Kennedys. That there's a branch of them. Of course, the CIA, they're mostly heroes. They're good people. But there's a group at the top that are sinister. And they are the small family elite. Kissinger's one of them. So him saying who controls the money controls the world. Well, he was part of the CIA. He was at the very founding. He used to teach spycraft in Germany right after the war. And at the founding of the CIA, he was at the front. He also worked with MI6. Back then, it was all Five Eyes, they called it. Now we have the World Economic Forum that is kind of trumping national sovereignty. And they're saying we need to have this great reset. Of course, they're dumping trillions of dollars and expecting taxpayers to pay back a debt that we could never pay back. So they say, well, we'll just reset everything. And this guy, Klaus, the World Economic Forum, doesn't he look demonic? He wants to create a one world government that he'll be in charge of. That's their idea of the reset. It's going to be a new world order. Look at their symbols. They are evil and they need to be stopped. So this is it, the global currency. Pretty soon, we're going to stop with cash. Everyone's going to have digital. But as soon as they do that, they'll have total control over you and what you spend. They can watch everything you spend and everything you do. And anytime they want, they can cut your flow of funds. They can shrink them or grow them. They can do what they want. They will own you. I know, I've got a degree in monetary policy and finance. And I've been watching this for decades. Within the army, look, we have a colonel that's heading up a section that is satanic, the satanic army within the army. And of course, a lot of people, they call themselves devil dogs or whatever because they're tough guys. That doesn't mean they're actually satanic, but there's a big part that is. So look for these symbols again, the Pentagon, the lightning bolt, the attitude. It's growing. Cooper, everybody's watching this guy on CNN. He comes from one of the richest families in the world. He'd actually studied at the CIA 2 different summers while he was at Yale. He was a part of the Manuscript Society. He was a part of Operation Mockingbird. He's a part of that elite. He's got pedophilia, paranoia, and pictures. Here is an organization called the Information Awareness Office. It's part of our government under DARPA. See, DARPA, Department of Defense. It's their acquisition department for new technologies. See the all-seeing eye, the Illuminati eye looking at the world. Their job, you can go look it up. All this is something you could see too. And what they're saying is we're going to watch every person 24 hours a day. Everywhere they go, we're going to know everything that they're doing. They also have predictive modeling software, and they're learning what your buttons are, how to press them, how to get you to think one way, what you respond to, what you object to. They're learning how you think better than you probably know yourself. And there are computer programs that are taking all your imprint that they get from their feeds on the internet, and they're growing a composition about you and your group of friends and how they can mold you and direct you. And I know that from doing research in this area and having worked with the CIA and knowing friends in this area. So they've been doing brain warfare for years. This goes back to the early days, as you can see, and even MI6, or MI5, I should say, is British intelligence. What do they have? They have a triangle and they have an eye at the top. They're part of the Illuminati, have been from the beginning. Under the crown, right in the middle. The queen is at the top of the hierarchy, right? During the Allied advances, all the intelligence from all the Allied powers worked together. It just made sense. But that collective body of intellectual intelligence officers that ended up containing the secrets, so only they knew the secrets as they developed them. They call it departmentalization, as to know, classified or not. And so they have information that even presidents and prime ministers can't access. They're a government above the government. They are the super government. They are the shadow government, and they need to be watched. They create wars over and over because that legitimizes them, and that's how they make money. Wars make money. They don't just happen. They're planned years in advance, and they're planned by the bankers. And the bankers, as you create more war industry, you create more products, you make more money, and you get more loans, and they're higher rate interest loans because there's more danger. So now when this information comes out into the internet, corporate media packages it up. How would you like it wrapped? Anti-terrorism as a kid. So what's he saying? We can't let you see what's happening, and it's for your own good. So here are the power brokers. Every step we go, we're going to go up a notch. Here we have a situation where the Rothschilds, and this is Maria Average again, the spirit cooking and the leader of the cannibalistic movement within Satanism, they're having their picture taken in front of Satan himself. So they're letting the world know, and they're unabashed. And they've been unabashed for generations that they're Satanists. Victoria, who is the Queen of England when they ruled the world, basically, and there became a one world government, she and Albert created many offspring. He was a German, remember? Saxe, Coburg, Gotha, were the fascist movement started. So they had very offspring, and their offspring married other people that became other princesses and kings. So you'll see that they're all related. And so we shrink that back down. We see Elizabeth, the current Queen of England, is related to Harold, who's part of the King of Norway. And she's also cousins with the Romanian monarchs and the Greek monarchs, Spanish monarchs from Denmark. This is Sweden again, Yugoslav, Spain, Romania, Carlos of Spain. So there's so much interbreeding that they end up being the elite. They are their own sect of people, them and the bankers that are the barons. So it's all royalty. And what they did is they just put all their interests into corporations so that it was hidden. So when you have a corporation or offshore trust, so all their money, there's more money offshore than there is onshore. So they can do whatever they want because they just keep creating more money, and they can buy what they want. They can buy anybody off. So Elizabeth's relatives are the King of Norway, the King of Sweden, the Queen of Denmark, and the King of Spain. And I've had the good fortune to meet different monarchs, King of Norway and Spain and other places, and they're good people on the surface. But when you hear their lives, here's all representation of all the major lines of royalty around the world. This is the royal family, if you didn't know, of England. And look what her nurse, so there are caretakers, the people that look over the royal family, have this uniform. And in their buckle is both the compass and the rule and the pentagon. What does that symbolize? And the red, she's in all red. Which in and of itself doesn't mean anything. Her father, wearing the Masonic robes. Her other closest relatives, look at him, a Mason. Her son, giving the handshake to other world leaders who also use that handshake because they're all members. To become a world leader, you have to be asked in. And to be asked in, you have to give a sacrifice. You have to give an oath. You have to sell your soul to Satan. They sell their souls to Satan, but they can't tell you. So here he is given the sign of the fraternity. Here's his brother acting crazy, saying he's a good man, but he's clearly partying a lot. There's his Prince Charles' son, heir apparent, given the Masonic handshake. Or is that a coincidence? His insignia, do they just happen to like that animal, or is it part of the God's head? Is it a way that, see, they kind of make it subliminal. They kind of make it secret. So only if you know will you recognize it, and the masses won't recognize it. Telling the world. He's hanging out with one of the world's biggest satanic pedophiles, a person who's procured children. Numerous organizations have pinpointed him, but he's protected by the royal family. I believe he's left his body. Look at him, copying the Satanist Aleister Crowley. Jimmy Savile, part of the satanic ring, direct links to the royal family. And we see similar types of inappropriate activity in our own White House with both administrations, by the way. Call boys in the middle of the night with Bush and Reagan administrations. Buckingham Palace butler says he ran a pandemic sex ring. This has come out through numerous sources. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. But when you hear it over and over again and you see these signs and you hear all this stuff, it starts to make sense. Here's a picture of a guy trying to escape the royal palace. Here's Prince Charles with the Rothschilds. Now let's go back to the top of power and money in the world. There's two representatives. So the richest people on earth and the other members with the Clintons, obviously. And the eldest, Baron Philippe de Rothschild. Look at the symbols that she wears. It's the sign of the goat. And here's just the devil. It's not the goat, but she's letting you know that that's what it means to her. Again, the Rothschilds aren't silent about their belief. Here she is. And centerpiece in her living room is the devil, or a demon, with the horns, the black, and it's eating human beings. It's cannibalism. And she's smiling. It's the way they think. They think you and I are the fools, and that they know. Again, here they are with Satan. They're Satanists. People don't want to believe it. Here's the symbol again. And here the prince is with Maxwell. Maxwell was a rich man who was also a part of intelligence in World War II that worked with both the British intelligence and Mossad when the country of Israel began. And his multi-millions, he was behind a lot of the power brokering around the world. And his daughter happens to be Ghislaine Maxwell, who worked directly with Jeffrey Epstein, who was also in intelligence. So she says that he came into her life to protect her. Her father was murdered. He knew too much, I think. And now we look at the guy. Here's Epstein. He was supposed to go to jail. What's happening? Who are these people? How come things aren't happening in the court? Well, we look at head of the Justice Department, Barr. Where's he from? His dad, Donald Barr, was Jeffrey Epstein's mentor and gave him his first job. Here's Jeffrey as a young man, working at an all-girls prep school. And Donald Barr, the father, head of the prep school, also wrote a novel about men in their 40s having sex with teenage girls the age of the prep school that he was in charge of. So clearly it was running a ring. And these girls go under MK mind control and they essentially become sex slaves. They know how to use So Epstein is sick. Not only does he work with intelligence, but it's diabolical, it's evil. And they're all into the adrenochrome when they go to the Epstein Island. Here's Musk, and everybody seems to like Musk. They don't realize who he is. Ghislaine Maxwell at the Oscars. By the way, here's his mother. I won't even say anything. She's got tons of money. All the enterprises that he had started, PayPal and Tesla and everything down the line came from the money of the family, just so you know. He's a front for it all. And they're Satanists. Here he is giving the sign with the governor of Texas. Oops. Here's his new wife. Now he just had a sign. This is Grimes. His son is XAEA-12. Interesting name. Look at him. As we said before, she's into Satanism. Look at what's on her hands. Look at the tattoos. Look what she did to her back. Normal people don't do that. They're Satanists. Here he is with Bill Gates, who's a regular at Epstein Island. I have both the flight logs, and the black book. And it's all the heads of state. All these people I'm talking about, they're regulars on Epstein Island. We're all part of the adrenochrome drinking or blood drinking sect. It's getting high off of dead children, dead and abused children. You don't believe it. It's hard to believe. Take a deep breath. Don't hold it in. Use the energy to awaken you and to disturb you enough that you take action to change it. My suggestion. Pray on that. So Bill Gates, population reduction, what his dad did. Bill Gates Sr. partnered with the Rockefellers. They created the New World Order. He was the one that put together the Rockefeller Foundation. The people that did MK Ultra. The people that traffic. The people that used the kind of conditioning that has been used in the sex cult. He did eugenics. His book. He's the one. And it's interesting that his son followed up with being the head of Planned Parenthood. That's where they get the embryos. That's where they get. It goes on and on and on for the adrenochrome. These are blood-sucking Satanists. His wife wearing the cross upside down. Soros, the Open Foundation, why he hasn't been arrested, isn't that amazing? Look at him as a kid. What's he wearing? Another Thunderbolt, which we recognize as the SS. It's his thinking. Look at his sign, the big red flag over the American flag. The flag, and that represents the Communist Party, doesn't it? Whether it's China or Russia, it's a big red. That's the symbol of National Socialism, or a fascist. He says anti-fascist, he's actually the fascist. So that's how Satanists think. And he bought her. Greta was actually an actress from Sweden. She's out of it now. She's done with the Illuminati. She became aware of what she was being used as a pawn. Apple, we love Apple and Steve Jobs, but what's his symbol? The fall from grace. He ate from what God said not to eat from, the apple. So it's a symbol. Again, his partner Wozniak is a Mason, a leader. He's part of the cult. And I don't know if this is true, you guys. I don't know Mark Zuckerberg. And I know he's on the flight log. There's evidence that he's gone to Epstein Island, but supposedly this shows him making the comment that he doesn't like. He's having a hard time watching them extract the adrenochrome from the smaller participants, which means the children. But he says ingesting adrenochrome is as enjoyable an activity as he's ever engaged in. So he's a part of the sex orgy, adrenal drinking, and that would be suggested that he is by his evidence that he's there, doing it with the rest of them. We should now know that they were doing. Now let's go into the Pope, into the church. Look at this. He's wearing a black Sabbath shirt. He's part of the Jesuits, by the way. He's given the sign. Is he just saying, hey, everything's good? Or is he giving the sign of the devil? You tell me. But that's the sign of the devil. And he should certainly know that. Same thing with this. And this is the sign of pedophilics. Boy lovers. FBI says this is the sign of a pedophilic. Notice that Justin Trudeau's foundation uses that same sign. He's part of that same cult. They're not only abusing boys, they're gaining their adrenochrome. They kill them, they take their adrenochrome. Here he is using the sign of the pedophile again. Somebody ought to tell him if he's not one, but don't we know that pedophilia is more rampant in the Catholic Church and the clergy? Haven't they been the ones that kind of brought it to light? Look at This was Cardinal Ratzinger, who became Pope Benedict. He was the head of the papal see. He gave the theology of the church, and he's given the sign of the devil. Just look at him. Doesn't he look kind of evil? Look at the sign, the horns on the head. The signs are there, the red shoes. Supposed to be the blood of martyrs. What is it? The blood of little boys. John Paul. Is that the sign of 666? I honestly don't know, but it looks suspicious now, doesn't it? All these men, all these popes, were actually in charge of the largest pedophilic organization that the world has ever known. And it still continues today. And there's a lot of trafficking from South America and through the Jesuits, this order that the current pope is from. And here's their symbol. There's a cross, but there's a second cross. Now, whether they did that on purpose or not, I don't know. But look how interesting all these little boys that are naked. Doesn't that look pedophilic to you? Why do they have to be naked? And they're all around them in kind of sexual positions. There's a book about it, and they suggest that these two, the heads of the Jesuit church, are satanic, and they're not only abusing children, they're taking their blood. They're Satan worshipers. And now look at their ring. Remember the signs? You will know them by their signs. We hear that from the Bible. See this? It's like the compass and the rule. And then I remember I told you there were pillars. Sometimes at the end, there's the pillars. You see how they make these two X's. So that looks like an Illuminati ring. And a satanic ring, in fact. And look at this. Sweet little, supposed to be a saint. She had the greatest child trafficking ring in India. All these poor kids had nowhere to go. She'd take them up, they'd sell them off. Here's Fauci with it. They take their adrenochrome. That's where a lot of it comes from India. They have billions of people. They have almost 1 billion people there. So they were just taking all the kids that had nowhere else to go and turning them into money. And here's Mother Teresa with Maxwell again. The guy that's ahead of this, the Mossad, the CIA, the satanic ritual abuse, and the child trafficking. They're all tied together. What's Mother Teresa doing with him alone in this room? So if you go to the Vatican, you'll see this building. Looks kind of serpentine, doesn't it? There's an interesting flow to it, like the head of a snake. And you see this symbol. Here he is. This is the rapture. And what do you see? To me, that looks like the head of a serpent. That looks like the eyes and the mouth of a reptile or a serpent. So this is Jesus' face. This is his hair, supposedly. These are skulls and things. So it looks kind of like a Mormon site to me. No disrespect to Jesus or the church. But look at that face. Doesn't that look like a reptile to you? The serpent, Satan, Lucifer, secretly hidden within a picture of Jesus, which is what a Satanist would do. He would mock Jesus and glorify Satan. And that looks exactly like what they're doing. Need more convincing. Does that not look like a reptile? Does that not look like the eyes on each side and the fangs that are bordering this rapturous moment? And don't these look like scales? Take another look. See, it's scaly. Fangs. Like this, like a serpent. See, scales. This would be the reptilian, and that's how Satanists work. They put it right in front of your face, but so you don't see it. And they're laughing at you, they're mocking. They're the elite that know what's going on, but you're the ignorant masses. And you're the ignorant masses because you've been watching the TV and stuck to your 5G cell phones, and it's corrupting your brain. You need to step back and let the divine in. Clear your mind. Everyone take a deep breath. Let's just let go of any negativity that's like runs through our head. We're using this to wake up. This is our wake-up call. So the serpentine eye. And now there's some information. I'm not going to go through it because I don't want to natter on about it, but the kind of clergy that has been involved, the number of people, 4 out of 10 Catholic nuns report being violated. You know, my God, almost half. So pedophilia is growing. The number of, and also a decline in the church. The amount of Protestants has dropped. The amount of Catholics have dropped. More people are not into anything. So they're turning away from the church. From going to say you're a part of something, almost 84%, to about half. And those that attend the church, from about 50% to less than a quarter, and maybe even less than that now. So there's a radical shift. Whether you agree with it or not, it's when you have these statistics, you can stop, go back to it later. So Mel Gibson is one of the few people that have actually brought this. There's been about a dozen that I know that have talked about the Satanism in Hollywood and how there's a cult amongst the elites. And the political and the rich and the clergy are all in on it too. So Hollywood studios are drenched in the blood of innocent children. It just seems hard to believe. This is baby blood in Hollywood. It basically operates as its own currency. So worldwide, children are being stolen and sold to elite pedophile rings. Take a deep breath and think about this. They are not, where they are tortured, raped, murdered, and a part of the satanic ritual ceremony. The murderers then drink the children's blood and they eat their flesh. Hard to believe, hard to reflect on that, but do it. Take a deep breath. Don't hold it in. The blood of children who were severely traumatized before they died contains adrenochrome, a natural drug produced by the pineal gland. I think they mean the adrenal gland. The adrenal pineal gland will give you a discharge too. All the endocrine system creates hormones that'll give you a high, essentially. In the brain, adrenochrome is the highest valued drug in the world. And it is, and you don't know about it. So I'm telling you about it. And it's been brought up, but it gets suppressed in the media because the media is controlled by the one world government. Remember? Bilderbergs and the Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission and so forth. We're all trying to repress this information. We supply elite pedophiles with children. This is a CIA agent. He's trying to tell the world, look, I know we're doing something we shouldn't do. A good man trying to do the right thing. The FBI says the same thing. Man, 27 years, a leader in his field. Says the CIA is involved with the satanic ritual abuse, drug trafficking, including the adrenochrome, by the way, kidnapping of children, mostly, international trafficking, and the murder of countless children worldwide. 1 million a year are missing. Our Department of the Treasury did a similar study. It's just suppressed in the news. That's the problem. This group has taken over. So they're trying to control us by what we can learn. So I'm trying to break that control so you will learn. So you need to help me share this information so everybody can know it. So there's also this watch, this organization, the ITJM. There's a judicial commission that is looking into these inquiries and taking information. Here's a testimony of people that were part of this MK Ultra, or survivor witness of this mind control or sexual abuse. And there's dozens and dozens and dozens of them that have come forward. Most of it's been banned. It just gets taken off YouTube or Google. You have to go into the dark web, and now that's being cut. I've been suppressed. I've been banned. So look at all the 40 million, 25 are children, aged 12 and 14, maybe several times a day. It's making billions of dollars. It's one of the biggest money-making enterprises in the world. And they're coming to America where the money is. These elites are drinking a lot of baby blood and adrenochrome. So Ben Swan, by the way, does a great job. Look him up. He brought forward to the attention of the people this very thing. And Operation Underground that I've supported financially to help liberate children that have basically been stolen. They're prisoners, they're slaves, and sometimes under mind control and drug use. So here's the pedophile codes. This is what you need to do. I want to take a deep breath. Knowing this exists, you want to protect all those you love. You want to know what's going on. You don't allow someone evil to infect you or those you love. So these pedophile codes: hot dog equals boy, pizza equals girl, cheese pizza means a very young girl, chicken and pasta is a very young boy. So if you hear these, they're referring to these as something to eat, to consume. A map is semen. A walnut is a colored child. See the brain? You're going to draw from the brain. Ice cream, different flavors or colors or textures of young children. Handkerchief tells what you want. It's an indicator. And the sauce is an orgy. It's according to the FBI, by the way. So when we go to Comet Ping Pong, when we hear about the Weiner event and Alessandra and the fundraising events that went on and supposedly child trafficking, well, here's what they're telling you in their own emails when they refer to a pizza, that it's a sexual event. ping pong, Comet ping pong. So what are they doing? They're having an event to raise money with James Alefantis from Comet Ping Pong, saying there's going to be a pizza event. They'll raise pizza for Hillary with John Podesta, a known pedophile and Satanist. You'll see more in a minute. And Maya Harris, the senior policy advisor for Hillary Clinton. And the sister, the younger sister, Kamala Harris. And they're all involved with this. You need to know. I didn't make this. Here's a symbol of him. What do those symbols you think mean? Dive into the finger, feel the pain. This is a satanic thing. He's showing, here it is. Ouch, I did it. I made an offering to Satan. Left hand bandaged, these numbers. Why are the fingers scarred? Why does this show up? What does it mean? WikiLeaks was released. Here's one of the things you're not supposed to see, talking to Barack from Hillary, talking about, hey, we're doing a pizza, we're having people together, and more hot dogs, you can come. So Barack Obama, John Podesta, Ben Affleck, Nancy Pelosi, they're all a part of it. You're not supposed to know. And how is it that SpongeBob, if you look at the little cartoon for kids, you look up that address, is it just a coincidence that 124 Cont Street over here happens to be Epstein Island? Here's the handkerchief code from the FBI. What do handkerchiefs mean? So John Podesta, from a person supplying the kids. Oh, did you leave the handkerchief? Meaning, are you looking for children? And here's what you want. You want black, you want white, you want yellow, you want green. You can go back to this at your own time if you want to study it more. But she's asking, your handkerchief, a pizza, you want some pizza? What do you want? Yes, I want a white and black. I want a virgin who's into sadomasochism. A white, young virgin, a pedo, a child, and you're going to do something nasty to it. I think Obama spent about $65,000 in taxpayer money flying pizza and hot dogs from Chicago to a private party at the White House. Do you think that it's pizza and hot dogs, or do you think it might be something else? So there's many of these. You can look this up for yourself. These are the symbols you look for. These over here are boys. These are girls. They're pedophiles. This is the kind of art that they have and use. What does this mean? What do you think it means? You think that child's happy? Are they not being sexually abused? Look at the inside, the guts. Look at the spanking. Look at the red shoes. What does the red shoe mean? Do you know? I'm going to tell you. You don't want to know, but you need to know. So Culkin was one of the boys. Macaulay Culkin is one of the boys that was abused. And he's basically saying, there's a group that just want to sexually abuse you. There's another group that would go so far as to kill you, drink your blood, and make a shoe out of your skin, like the Nazis. Oprah Winfrey, that everybody loves, opened a school in Africa, but it has a reputation already for abusing children and children missing, children that come there that end up being sucked up into something. She's good friends with John of God, that ran the biggest child prostitution ring that is known in this part of the world. People came there en masse. He sexually abused many girls, and many people just end up missing. He's now arrested, very close to Oprah, who herself. So they all have these things where there's children and children are missing and they're into adrenochrome. Here's a magazine, a whole organization talking about young boys, cute little boys, right? What's this about predator laws? Boys beware. Why? What kind of subject is this? Who reads this kind of stuff? The North American Man-Boy Love Association. So men that loves little boys, pedophiles, and they're NAMBLA supporting this advertisement along with Antifa by Soros. Pedophilia is a natural sexual orientation? I don't think so. I don't think that's the right message to send the world either. This poor girl doesn't look old enough to have a menstrual cycle. She's clearly not ready physically or mentally for a sexual encounter. To do so is evil. It's satanic. And half the time they're trying to get their adrenaline. This needs to be stopped, in my opinion. He's an evil man. And here's another organization, Bohemian Grove, sacrifices to children, whether they're enacted or real. Pedophilia is well known here. Look at the movie Pizzagate. Here's Epstein Island. Here's the symbol. We got the owls up here. This is a symbol of Satan's temple. They had several towers. There's a chambers underneath and caves under the island where they sacrificed children. And they drank their blood. And they took adrenaline and adrenochrome. So you can get something from the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, which is the human growth hormone, and everybody loves it because it helps your cells regenerate and live longer and look younger. And everybody wants to look younger and feel better. Plus they get the sexual hormones, the testosterone and the estrogen and different peptides too, that give you this incredible, strong sexual feeling that they've never experienced before. And the adrenaline itself, the adrenochrome, broadly termed, is giving them a rush like they've never had. And it's extremely addicting. And so what's happening is to get the adrenochrome and to get into the circuit, you have to do certain things. How come he hasn't been arrested? How come Epstein was allowed to let go? What he said in front of the Congress when asked that question, I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone. So here he is, a cabinet officer in the US government, and somebody's come to him, somebody bigger than the president, saying, leave it alone. He's one of us. He's part of intelligence. Like I said, CIA and Mossad working together, part of the same thing. How come Ellen has this symbol? Palm trees leading up to this blue and white striped building. It's right here. You think that's a coincidence? All these other locations where this kind of activity, this child trafficking, this adrenochrome using, all these places we haven't heard anything about, or all of a sudden it's just out of the news. Why is that? Somebody's protecting them. Again, Ben Swan, letting you know a little bit more what happened behind the Epstein incidents. Him being legitimized by Dershowitz on Fox News. He says, Alan Dershowitz saying, look, I was introduced to him, that's Epstein, by Lady Rothschild. Now we know that Lady Rothschilds are Satanists in the one world government, New World Order. They control the world. So being introduced to him by Lady Rothschild is telling you something right there, that he's a part of it too. We can't trust him. Look at their flag. Doesn't that look familiar? They say anti-fascist, but it's a fascist flag. Queen of the Netherlands is wearing pizza. Why is that? And with her, who would be serving it up, flesh and blood for humans to eat and consume. Elaine Glasswell, you know, I told her that Glasswell is the daughter of Maxwell, part of the intelligence, right? And a part of the pedophilic trafficking with Epstein. Who are her sisters? Did you know who they are? They happen to be designer of the Magellan software that is used by the CIA and the NSA and Homeland Security and the Pentagon. So the security software systems that our intelligence uses come from people who have been working with Mossad, and they own that intelligence. So you see, it's all one. They actually own us. That the same elite, like the Rothschild, the world bankers. So here they are with the president with a younger underage girl, the head of our Supreme Court, who now has changed the law so there are no longer restrictions on how much you can give a candidate to be president. There used to be a restriction, so the rich couldn't just buy a senator or a president. And through Citizens United with the Koch brothers, he turned it around. Look, Ghislaine Maxwell, the pedophile trafficker, part of the elite, sitting in his lap. Look at that face. And he's another person that goes to Pedophile Island. He's one of these that likes little boys, apparently, or maybe little girls. I don't know. Where does this come from? Okay, Lexer. Here's Epstein. He says, "I'll do anything for me." Actually, he's the owner of Victoria's Secrets, among other franchises, multi-millionaire, part of Mossad, and basically the Jewish mafia, people would say. And he's the one that sold so many of these assets to Epstein. They were his. He sold them for $1. He's got something on him. They work together. He's another pedophile. He put up cameras in all his Victoria's Secrets so he could look at girls. He's basically owns Columbus, Ohio. This is where his center is. And he has a lot of control. This is where most of the young child trafficking comes from. Now there and Los Angeles, which is showed here. Third is New York. So these signs are all over Ohio, because there's a lot of children trafficking here, because there's a big desire for both sex and adrenochrome. Children are being grown just for the purpose of extracting their organs. So here's the prince with another young girl. So Glycine brought this together because she's really connected with the royal family. So they're bringing him some young girl that he can have sex with. Here's the person that procures in the United Kingdom for the royal family. He says over 500 children supposedly. So is it true? How much, I don't know. I wasn't there, but there are dozens and dozens and dozens of different media that have tried to bring forward the fact that this guy is not just a pedophile, but he's serving people like the royal house, children, for their adrenochrome and for sex and for the satanic worship. What about panda eyes? So we've heard about hot dogs and pizzas. You know what panda eyes? Panda eyes, they're welts that come up from being traumatized, from sodomy. And this comes out of them. It shows something. If you show this, it shows that this is pedophilia, satanic pedophilia. And that's Lady Gaga showing us her panda eyes. Look at that. This is what happens to children when they're treated that way. So they can get adrenochrome. And then these guys who take the adrenochrome can take the skin. This is the power trip. And they use that skin to make shoes or other ornaments, what are called trophies. And sometimes they do pictures of it to show people that they've got, to brag about it. Here's a famous one, Bill Maher. He's got Kid Love Productions. Is that telling? And you can come back and read these for yourself, because I'm trying to whip through this. You can pause it at any time. I just want to let you know he's justifying pedophilia. He's wearing the red shoes. He's with Weiner, who is the one that's supposedly using kids. Here he is again at a very satanic event, wearing the red shoes. It means he's a cannibal. Before we knew anything about Tom Hanks, look, one red shoe. Well, what does that mean? Does it mean anything? Well, now maybe it means something. This is supposed to be the blood of martyrs. But it has another meaning to people within. And this is the kind of art they're looking at. Look at poor little girls being chased, having blood and wearing red shoes, being hurt, chased. They're actually hunted. There's a group of people think it's fun to hunt, or they're sold online. Look at this, for $13,000, you can have what, this apron? They're selling bibs for $13,000? No, they're selling what's in it. If you want this child, you can have one. There's so many young kids, you can just grab them or breed them for nothing and then sell them for giant money. That's what they're doing. There's enough adrenochrome right there in that one little girl. Look at this. People become missing their face, and then you see them again in an ad for a pillow. Pillow's 10,000 bucks? No, they're not advertising a pillow. They're saying you can have this 15-year-old for that much money through this organization. I think that's been shut down now because it came to light. They're selling this to kids. Look at this. This is in kids' books. The New Understanding of Sex. They've got all these pictures of nude people. We got a devil, horns, clove foot, telling us about our genitalia and what gender's about. We could be boys or girls or a little bit of both, or, no wonder our kids are confused. They're actually saying it. Excuse me, but that's Hunter Biden. I've got all the films showing him have sex with young kids. You can get it on the dark web. He's sick. Their family is sick. Look at this. Over 1 million kids go missing every day. Where do they go? Take a deep breath. We're almost done. Adrenochrome, most popular drug in the world. And immortality serum, because it's got the human growth hormone, HGH, in it. It's got obtained from the adrenal glands too, where the adrenaline comes from living children after they've been terrorized, after you've gotten so excited, their body's producing more and more and more of this chemical. They get the highest levels of adrenaline. It's like an LSD quality, they say. Satanic rituals participated in by monarchies, politicians, congressmen, celebrities, CEOs, and the elite in general. Kids are their drug. Hard to believe, but the more you look, the more you'll find it. It's right in front of us, but we've been brainwashed through our media and our cell phones by mind control devices. Look at Google. Again, 666 is their symbol for Chrome. And they have a product at Chrome called adrenochrome. Look at this. Think that's just a coincidence? So one of the guys that first come out was Mel Gibson, saying that Hollywood is an institutionalized pedophile ring, dens of parasites who feast on the blood of children. Wow, that's heavy. Every studio in Hollywood is bought and paid for with the blood of innocent children. Well, that's a heavy thing to say. He didn't say it for years, because here he says, I'll leave this so you can capture it later. Basically, he says, I couldn't say it because they threatened to kill my family. Now those people that threatened me are dead. I'm coming forward and letting them know what really happens in Hollywood. And Keanu Reeves, and he said it more than once, so it seems to be believable. Keanu Reeves apparently said he saw 2 dead babies in a Mongol's refrigerator, and they are using adrenochrome, and he got angry. Is that true or not? I don't know. I can't prove it. I hear, that there are many rumors like this. When you hear so many, it substantiates it. So here's a whole movie about adrenochrome that's out. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which I read in high school with Hunter Thompson. He actually uses adrenochrome. He's actually talking about it. The first time it was probably talked about. It's all the way back in the 70s. It's supposed to be the best drug you can ever have. Not that I'd want any. I've tried a lot of drugs. I find God better. Open your third eye. Get to know yourself. Find God within you. Regardless of your religion, light is here. Those that are open to receive will receive. So even the Journal of the National Medical Association says, they talk about adrenochrome. The discharge of sex hormones intensifies the process of calcification. And as we well know, what we're dealing with in sex cults is sex hormone. Sexual abuse of children as a physical stimulator of the body results in the production of sex hormones. Consequently, their abuse and traumatization, so they know about it, right, leads to the production of adrenochrome. And isn't that all satanic? How is it anything else? By the pineal gland. They say pineal, but I think it's also the adrenal gland, which, regarding biological effect differences in races, they say that Black and Asian races produce a calcified adrenochrome that is thicker, richer, and creamier. So that's why they're trying to get children from Asia and Africa. So we need to tell our friends about this. So there's been study on adrenochrome. A lot of people say it's a conspiracy theory again, but here's the proof. Adrenochrome. Here's studies that show its effect on the nervous system. Here's another study going back to 1959. Adrenochrome has been known. It's created, adrenochrome, it's a known substance created by 3B Scientific and Wuhan Corporation in China. And just happens to be down the street from the Viral Laboratories that gave us COVID. Who owns Wuhan? Chinese government. Look what they're doing. What better way to control people for communism? By getting them addicted to a drug. Adrenochrome has a certain compound listed here that's known as the white rabbit. So in the popular vernacular, sometimes adrenochrome is called the white rabbit. This is why it kind of looks like a bunny in terms of its molecular structure. Here's the bunny, Wuhan Corp again. 3B Scientific, the word has been out for some time. This is more about it if you want to know. I'm putting these slides really just if you want to go back and learn more about it. It's sold. Here's all the places they sell it, including 3B Scientific, Wuhan, as well as Aurora Corp. 3B Scientific, right down the street, right near where the supposed bats were and this whole pandemic thing with the coronavirus. Look at this. Here's their website. They exist. They're all under the auspices of the Chinese Communist Party. Who owns the patent? Google Patent says, well, Derek Boot was the inventor. There are different forms, but under the work of Riker Laboratories, which is owned by who? 3M Corporation has the patent to adrenochrome. 3M, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing, one of the big multinational companies in our country, makers of Post-it notes, and tape, is one of the biggest suppliers of adrenochrome worldwide. Look at this. Here's another one, Aurora Fine Chemicals, and they're right here in San Diego. Who's the owner from? I did some background search on everyone and everything. I'm doing all I can to let you see what's happening. Alexander's from Russia. He studied medicine in Austria, and now he's got a company that distributes, among other things, adrenochrome. Here they're distributing in Germany. So there are different places you can go, but you can get it online. You can go to Alibaba, which is like Amazon, and you can get it, look, adrenochrome children, human, $300 a kilogram. Look farther down, here's some more adrenochrome. this is high quality, so it's a little bit more. From 370, it goes up to 404. So about kilogram, let's see. So it's around the same price as pot. But remember, this is cheap grade adrenochrome. The elite want it direct from live children after they violated them themselves. But if you're hurting for adrenochrome, at least it's online. You can get it in bulk. Costs money. But look, one elite pedophile can consume 500 children in a lifetime. Think about that. Think about what's happening in the world now. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in countries all over the world, the elite all over the world, that are getting consumed with this drug and will do anything for it. Look what they're justifying. Look what they're doing. In China, in India, they're taking regularly. I told you about Mother Teresa, but it's not uncommon for people to give up a kidney because it has the adrenal gland on top. They give up a kidney for money, and now they have money for their children to get married. They'll give at least one up. Others are just taken. Children are raised just to take their organs. Here in China, they're orbiting people that are part of Falun Dafa or Falun Gong, which is like Qigong or Tai Chi. It's a spiritual group, but they're also much about freedom. So the Chinese government has made them enemies, and now they're claiming 1.5 million have been killed just for their organs. So that you go against the Chinese government, they just pick you up, put you in a jail, kill you, and start taking all your organs, because they can turn around, they can make tens of thousands of dollars from selling your organs for adrenochrome. So this is a demonstration. This isn't actually happening. They're reenacting what's happening. They're trying to tell the world, look, there's a global price for different parts of babies. Babies are a commodity. They're beating them and taking their organs en masse. I'm sorry, that's a hard thing to look at, but I don't necessarily want you to sleep right now. I want you to be so upset that you'll do something about it. You'll help me tell others so we can change the world and create a better world. So here we are, the life. The woman that's promoting adrenochrome, drinking blood, human blood. She says it's art. Microsoft is promoting it. Who else but the Antichrist? You know, the person that wants to infect everybody with this poison. And these gene-altering drugs will end up killing us and controlling us. So he starts to promote her through Microsoft. He didn't get a very good response. 600 up, 24,000 down. Here's Maria. So, and John F. Kennedy Jr. did a good job of exposing this. This is her art. Why would he pay for people to see this and normalize this and create dinners? Here's her cooking book for aphrodisiac recipes for more sex. Look at this. They're sitting around. This is supposed to be a corpse and a dead body on top, and now they're all eating. How does that get your appetite going? And this is supposed to be true human flesh, and they can drink blood here, and later they take adrenochrome, I think. I don't know. Here they are practicing eating dead people. I don't think this person is actually dead. I think she was just acting dead. But this was their dinner. I'm going to eat this person. Here's another letter from Maria to Tony, talking about spirit cooking dinners. Tony Podesta, the head of the party that brought both the Clintons. Here they are, back with their spirit cooking. A lot of people like spirit cooking. Chrissy Teigen says, Johnny and I are on our way to so-and-so having a 4-year-old cheese pizza with adrenochrome. What do you think she's talking about? What's a 4-year-old cheese pizza? Cheese pizza should be just right out of the oven, right? 4 years old. They're talking about you got a 4-year-old little girl they're going to sexually abuse, and then they're going to take adrenochrome. Oh, that'll be fun. Maya Harris, the vice president's daughter, hosting a pizza party with John Podesta. I don't believe this is questioned, my friends. This has been on the internet. You can look it up yourself here. I'm putting it up for you to go back to. I don't want to talk about it too much. You can look this up later. Hillary Clinton's younger sister, here she is. Now, on Weiner's laptop was apparently pictures of sadistic rituals, which Hillary Clinton was participating in, that were both pedophilic and satanic, and involved the beating, abusing of children and taking the adrenochrome. They've got it on tape. 12 different police officers supposedly looked at that laptop. 9 of them have committed suicide, quote unquote. Do you believe they committed suicide, or do you believe they were shut up? I don't know what happened to the rest. And now they've lost it. The FBI lost the laptop. Do you believe that? Here are the Cannibal Club. Here's a restaurant in Los Angeles. They serve human flesh. They're advertising it. Did you know these little fetuses, hard to look at, 76 of them takes, crush up, and then just to make one of these viruses, Merrick's MMR vaccine. I don't allow myself to be vaccinated. Here, look at all the shots they give up by the age of 2. Just think about that. When you look at it that way, what baby should endure that? What are they putting in their body? Is that really helping? Look at how they're abusing children. Nobody cares. They're abused and their organs are taken for money. They're nothing. Also, the rich elite can have their blood and adrenochrome. Here we have another Lady Gaga and another satanic ritual. Now, other countries are reporting it. Look, they're showing you things I've shown you. Different countries, televised, talking about adrenochrome. How come the United States isn't? How come the BBC isn't? How come it's all being controlled? So John F. Kennedy said, there's a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman, and child. Isn't that what's happening? Before I leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose this plot. 7 days before he was murdered, they had to get rid of him because he was going to expose them. Who? The very people he's talking about are the people in the satanic cult that I'm talking about. The global elite creating a one world government. He tried to stop it. They had to kill him. Brzezinski's an interesting man. I got to meet him back in the late 70s. He was going to Mr. Grove's house. Mr. Grove was a man that had been the vice president of Pacific Gas and Electric, which is owned by the Rothschilds. He knew the Rothschilds, he knew the Rockefellers, he knew everybody. And this man would come to get advice from him, and he was the head of the National Security Council. He advised President Carter. He's the one that helped create Al-Qaeda and has said so publicly. Americans created Al-Qaeda and funded Osama bin Laden to fight the godless Russians. And then once they had a mercenary force that they could induct through MK mind control, they were willing to blow themselves up for Allah because they've been given MK mind control techniques. They do whatever they're told, and they go around incurring wars all over the world. And he has even said so. I used to talk to him. He said they will only be able to parrot the information they've been given on the previous night's news. They've been planning that shortly. We'll only be able to parrot. This is what I'm experiencing. I try talking to my family and friends. They think I'm a nut. All they can think is what they're being told in the news is the truth, like the fear about COVID and how we got to get vaccinated, and until everyone's vaccinated, we're not safe, and all these crazy ideas, still wearing the mask, and so forth. And they won't listen to any data. They won't listen to any of these facts. Things like what I'm sharing with you, most people have a great opposition to because of their programming. But here he's saying, look, we're programming people. They won't be able to think. They won't be able to, they'll just parrot information they were given the previous night's news. And that's what everybody's doing. It's under mind control. It's killing us. Look, this is our biggest weapon. All the lies that we hear on the TV. Don't think. So he said, I will splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the winds. He knew what they were doing. So they killed him. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwanted influence, whether sought or unsought. The last message he gave to the American people is to be wary of the military-industrial complex. So he's talking about DARPA. He saw what was happening. He saw the subterfuge. He saw the evil, and he wanted to tell the people. So Truman, who started the CIA, wanted to end it. Eisenhower complained about the CIA and didn't like it and tried to control it and threatened it several times and finally gave up. And then so did John F. Kennedy, but they killed him when he went too far. Lenin, what does he say? Without a big bang, socialism would be impossible. Many people don't realize that Lenin was actually financed by the Rothschilds, and his partner, Trotsky, was financed by the Schiffs. Together, they financed the Bolshevik Revolution. It's a dictatorship controlled by the same Satanistic worshippers. Look at them. Who these people are. So there's an elite. This is somebody else's meme, but it serves to get the, whether it's exactly this way or not, I'm not saying. But what we do know, there is a rich, powerful elite, less than 1% of the world, that seems to have control of the world and knows what's going on. There are think tanks and financial organizations that are conducting things that have control over how things are working. Corporations take it from there, controlling the different resources. And they control the media, they control the government through their lobbying, they control the education, which we're getting lied to endlessly. That's creating debt slaves, that's taking control over all the resources of the world and making the world a horrible place. So the few are gaining, the rest are losing. So Kissinger, who was Rockefeller's right-hand man, one of the lead theologians to the Bilderberg and the Council on Foreign Relations, another one of the Satanists, another one of the people that are trying to create a one world order. He said the new world order cannot happen without U.S. participation. So he wasn't trying for democracy. He wasn't trying to help America become great. It wasn't about a republic. He says, we are the most significant single component, we Americans. Yes, there will be a new world order, and it will force the United States to change its perceptions. We will have to bow, he says, to this new group of elites from Europe. And they have organizations. You say, where do you get this stuff? Even people, sometimes they don't believe me. Look, Agenda 21, you can order it online from the United Nations. And what does it outline? What's the new one, 2030? What are their visions? It's all about creating a one world government, depopulating the world from almost 8 billion down to 500 million, 500 million, like the Guidestones say, creating a one world government that's basically communist, controlled by an elite. We're going to abolish nations, we're going to abolish private property, we're going to control everything. So it's like communism, doesn't it? And people don't believe you. They keep not wanting to believe it. But look, it's all written out here. One world government, cashless currency. We're going to use the mark of the beast, some kind of implant in our hand or in our head. It's going to interact with the 5G and the AI on the internet. It's going to tell us what we can buy and not buy, keep track of it for us, kind of like a credit card. It's implanted into our body, and they can watch us all the time. So you can go back to this. I'm not going to go down the list. It'd take too long. He says, soon it will be, this is the 1970, and I talked to him about this. People say, well, where do you get this stuff? I talked to the people that know. We got to meet with 4-star generals and leaders of Homeland Security. Well, it wasn't called that then, but they had NSA, they had CIA, they had people in the, quote, State Department, ambassadors, all kinds of powerful people. And they all have this perspective. Soon it will be possible to assert almost continuous surveillance over every citizen and maintain up-to-date, complete files containing even the most personal information about citizens. These files will be subject to instantaneous retrieval by the authorities. Well, that's happening now. They know it. DARPA created the internet. It's controlled by the Department of Defense. The internet is a weapon. Your 5G system is a weapon. Your cell phone is a weapon. It's to create a connection between you and them so they can control you. It's like a digital leash. It's going to control your brainwave frequencies, what you think, what you should do. They can read and register your signs. It's unbelievable. And they knew this back in 1970. People say you're crazy if you say it, but they've been talking about it for decades. The tectonic age says these devices would then wirelessly transmit encoded information to and from a cloud-based supercomputer network for real-time brain-to-state monitoring and data extraction. So there's people already doing this, and there's a whole study being done, RT, Russian Times, which sometimes shows things that the main networks wouldn't, but they're Russian, so you got to look at their bias too. Look at this. This is all the way back at 2000. This is an announcement of the company that already has the technologies and announcing that they sold it to the government. It said that when voice FM is used, their technology, you have one method of targeting a person at a distance, even in a crowd, with the hypnotic commands which cannot be heard by the ears, but which are heard and understood in the mind. This development in covert hypnosis technology underscores the urgent need for debate and controls on all anti-personnel weapons capable of such technologies. So now they have the ability to control what thoughts go into your head and through the wireless technology of 5G. That's why they pushed it on us. They want everyone on it so they can start taking control of you. So Google's on it, CIA's on it, the National Security Agency, they're all a part of it. They're all spying on you. They're all trying to control you. Guy from Google, who's one of the senior tech guys, says their mission is to program humanity. Whether you like Trump or not, I'm not for or against any of these guys. I think Republicans or Democrats are all owing to the same elite. I don't want to, you know, things I like he said and don't, frankly, I don't personally like them, but hey, half the country was for him and all these guys shut him off. Look, Facebook, Twitter, all stopped. They wouldn't let him say a word. That's censorship. That was part of a coup. Did you know that Michael Voss, who is a producer, he's produced for HBO and he's from Amsterdam, he's Dutch, and he's married to Nancy Pelosi's daughter. He was working with a guy named Phil Angelo. Angelo was an actor. People don't realize he was actually arrested for being at a BLM, a Soros event. And it was Antifa that took credit for raiding the White House, by the way. Before they said it was Trump people, Antifa said it was them. But the news tells you what they want you to think. And so what happened is, if you didn't know, how did those people get in to a secured building like the Capitol building? Well, Nancy Pelosi's daughter told him to let him in, and him and they're both film producers, and they and Angelo went in and they set up the shots. It was a manufactured event. It was a staged event, and then they took the reels saying that it was a MAGA event, and these guys weren't MAGA at all. If you look at the tattoos, it was obvious. And then they gave it to NBC and CBS and CNN. They all started saying, look, these MAGA people are trying to take over. And it wasn't. How did they get into Nancy Pelosi's office? They wouldn't let, there's armed guards there. They wouldn't allow all those yahoos in there. It was behind Pelosi. They're all part of that covert operation that couldn't allow Trump to win again because he was beginning to expose, and maybe he's a part of it, but there was going to be an exposure of what was happening. PRISM, this is given to us. This is the program that Snowden is telling us about, how the government, which they denied that they did it until they were caught. The NSA lied to us, lied to us, lied to us. The CIA is always lying to us. They feel they can lie with impunity because it's for our national self-interest or our security. Look at this. Pre-filled COVID-19 vaccine syringes with RFID microchips in a tracking system already made. They're already doing it. People say, oh, they can't do that. They're not gonna chip you using COVID vaccinations. They've been doing it. I think this is back in 2020. These little chips all over the world. And they can either be on your hand or in your head. Google, they say put a tattoo in, or maybe sometimes it's just an implant, and it's going to interact with your cell phone. The 5G, the smart technology, the AI. Elon Musk, so that's Google, Elon Musk has Neuralink, so it'll connect with your head, on your hand or in your head. Where have we heard that before? King James, again, whether you're a Christian or not, Revelation 13:16. Talking about the Antichrist, the end of times, when there's going to be a revelation. There's going to be a guy that's going to seem like a good guy, an Antichrist. He's going to be a Christ-like figure, a savior of the world, going to do good for the world, going to create a one-world government. Everyone's going to follow this guy, all the countries under one person. And at first it's going to seem good, and then it's going to get horrible. See? And the way you're going to know that this is happening is that you're going to get the sign or the mark of the beast, which is on your hand and in your head. So it says, he that causes both, he's talking about the Antichrist, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, slaves, to receive the mark on the right hand or on the foreheads. Right hand on the forehead. You'll see in other angles, they have it through the forehead because it's closer to the skin. And they have these implants that interact with 5G. Boom, boom. And not only that, the next verse goes on in the Bible goes on to say that no one will be able to buy or sell unless they have the mark of the beast. And when have we ever seen that? Because slaves have been marked before, but that mark has never enabled somebody to buy and sell. And now what do we have? We have an infrastructure where we're able to buy and sell using chips in our hand and our head that interact with our smartphone or the 5G. And they can watch what we're thinking. That already exists. So we got the elites, we have the banking system controlling the corporations that in turn control government, corporations, and which in turn control all the people and living things on the planet. but only because we're allowing them to, only because we've been asleep. Now that we're awakening. So this again, the Georgia Guidestones, this is a Masonic temple, isn't it? What does it say? To maintain the population under 500 million, so 500 million, from 7.5 to 8. They want to cut down most of the population of the world and keep it in perpetual balance, guiding it wisely. You know, it always sounds good. Yeah, and it's all going to be good if it's just all of them having power and all the resources, money in the world. The rest of us are sheep that have to do as we're told. Here's another example of Rockefeller explaining how he's all for the one world government and an integrated global political and economic structure, a one world, if you will. He stands by it. These are, well, someone else created this, but for years, people have thought, oh, these are all conspiracy theories. Well, I challenge all of you, instead of just saying that, if you don't already know, look it up. Go to Enlightenment TV. I've got different shows I've done that explain how chemtrails work, weather modification, how the wars have been constructed, how the food we're eating is hurting us, and a lot of the drugs we're being exposed to, and the strife that is occurring is all being planned. It's all part of the bigger plan. And you can think it's crazy all you want, but once you look, you begin to find. And once you find, the truth will set you free. And we can change the world and create a better world. Until you see it, you can't do it. They say they're going to create a better world, a new world order. Look at this. Mandela's son, guy that was a part, well, he's from the intelligence agency and money. He's one of the biggest currency traders in the world. They're going to create this happyism and, you know, undo, you know, how we're going to create a better world. They have all these sustainable goals. But the sustainable goals are putting them in charge, and all of us have nothing, and we will like it. There's a movie called V for Vendetta, where somebody actually explained how a coronavirus was going to be used to create an authoritarian dictatorship, where we have security but not freedom, because it's for our safety. It's kind of like a Big Brother watching in George Orwell's 1984, which I encourage you to read if you've not seen it before, but a movie talking about what's actually happening right now. It's productive programming, globalizing the world. They're just going right down to our kids. They're bypassing the parents. We're going to tell you what this new world's going to look like. And all these people that are controlling, destroying our economy because we've been confined and restricted, banned, it's destroyed my business overnight. I can't market online. You've got to help me share this and spread the word. But all these people, their wealth has doubled at the whole time the economy collapses. There's a vast sucking sound as they're shunning criticism and quarantining us. It has made them all rich, and they're evil. Did you know that there was a planned event just before Corona was rolled out? Gates got together and they said, well, what if a coronavirus hit? Nobody had heard of coronavirus. They all got together and they planned an event. And the World Bank, look it up, Event 201, Global Economic Forum, the CIA, the CDC all said, well, what would we do? Let's plan what it would be like if a pandemic were to break out. What would we all do? Well, we would mask, we would quarantine, this would be the new normal. They went on and on and on about it. They laid it all out. And then they laid out a corona pandemic. And if you didn't know, we didn't have one. The actual death numbers for our country, the United States, and the countries of the world wasn't any higher well, it was marginally higher, but there was no peaking, no increase in total deaths or significant from 2018 to 2019 to 2020 to 2021. The numbers have been inflated. We've been lied to, and no one's willing to tell you. So go to my website and Enlightenment TV, and I've done another series like this. It lays it all out. So these are the things that they are trying to do to control us and to create this new world government. Wernher von Braun, who was brought over from the Nazis to create our rocket and space program, it had been working with aliens, he said. That's where the Nazis got their advanced technology, and we did too. He said the next thing they're going to do to create a one world order, which he was aware of, the new world order, Hitler was trying to create it too, you know. Fascists were all going to create it, and then we'd have a better world once everybody listened to them, except for the people that weren't worthy, and they were massacred in mass in concentration camps. So extraterrestrial threat. They're going to pretend we're being invaded by extraterrestrials, and then all the nations will be told that they've got to work together to meet this threat, and that will help create the one world government. So how do you tell when the truth is being told? We're almost done. Take a deep breath. Well, Facebook blocks it, Twitter bans it, Google hides it, YouTube deletes it, the government censors it, and the media never mentions it. And this is what's being happened. That's why I needed to create this talk, and I'm so grateful that you would listen. You need to look at this because I can't use these venues anymore. We're being blocked. The people that want to share what's happening. And now look what they're putting on my app. Why would they send this to me? Do I want to be a part of the Drag Queen for Beginners, a Facebook group? See, they're promoting it. Nothing in my likes and dislikes are going to say anything about drag queens. And all of a sudden, this is being put upon us. That's done on purpose. They're trying to confuse us. But here's the upshot. We're almost done. Zbigniew Zabrzyński that we talked about, here he is at the Center for Council, Center on Foreign Relations. And what he says to creating the New World Order, their biggest threat is the global awakening. It's what's happening to you and I right now. This is it, what we're doing, sharing this information, people waking up and seeing what's going on. That's something we got to watch out for. If the masses find out what we're doing, we're in trouble. So wait, this is Lordson. Wait, listen to me. We don't have to be just sheep. So stop being a sheep. Everybody needs to wake up, and we need to tell others. So I have a plan, global enlightenment, a plan for world peace, to raise the consciousness of the planet by looking within, to know who you are and why you were born, to bring out the good within you, to raise your consciousness above the vices of greed, of lust. It doesn't mean you don't make love. It means you don't do perverse things. You don't get into anger. You don't get into this fear-based world that everyone's living in and being controlled by. So we want to enlighten. We want to become aware, mindful. So I teach meditation, mindfulness. Come to Enlightenment Television, where I have all these free classes and all this information. You read about COVID, you read about the New World Order. Streaming higher consciousness 24/7, and it's free. Donations are appreciated. We need to keep going. I've got a whole series on the science of COVID, so you can be informed on what's really happening. You've been lied to. I've got the scientific evidence to show you everything. Just go to enlightenmenttv.com, streaming higher consciousness. Amen. May the whole world live in happiness and peace. May all of you enjoy good health, long life, prosperity, happiness, and peace. God bless you, and thank you for listening.